Starting in 2 minutes, everyone. All right, let's just get right into it. Yes, welcome back, Ken. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm just not good with it. I think I should just make the timer 2 minutes because half the time I feel like I'm sitting there like waiting for it to.
Well, while you were doing it, I was looking at the timer, right? I was like, all right, I'm trying to send out this tweet. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we have a minute. Okay, I still got time. I guess still got time. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I think I'm gonna end it. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Because I have no time. I thought I had you robbed me of that extra minute. Put that minute back on the clock.
Well, I will try again to do what I did last week, which was to live tweet the stories while you're navigating the depth. We'll do our best. But welcome back, everyone, to Creative Briefs. This is our weekly recap on the top news and our own analysis on what's happening in the creator economy. So every week, we will bring you a roundup of the latest news, some of our analysis, some deep dives on key topics in the creator space. We do go live on Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can find out more over at created.show. It's our official show page. We also stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter Spaces, most likely. So pick your poison, whatever is the best way for you to consume that content. In addition, if you do want longer form content, you want access to all the links, you want to get on our mailing list, head over to createdeconomy.com. It's our official show page. It's a great way to find out about a little bit more about what we're working on. This is episode 8 of this show, September 17th. Welcome back. Please do give us a follow anywhere that you can. We're Created Economy everywhere. I think we're probably most invested in our YouTube channel, so we certainly welcome you giving us a follow over there. But Ken also does studiously maintain our Flipboard as well with all the links that we discovered throughout the week. We do have a Slack as well. So if you want to be part of ongoing conversations and discussions around sort of what's happening in the creator economy, feel free to head over to our Slack. It's at bit.ly/created-slack. There's also a QR code on screen if you're watching it now. And we will get back to that after. We did have an airdrop going on, but I think I forgot to put the slide in. So, actually, we can run the banner for it. But yeah, if you do want to try the the official coin of the show, the AMA coin, feel free to head over and grab some of that. I think this week I'm giving away 2 coins to everyone who attends. So you can hit bit.ly/AMA-drop-3 as a way to claim some free AMA coin. It's about $2.50, so you're getting like $5 free this morning if you just go claim that.
Ooh, that's a good McDonald's lunch I can get right there.
After the gas and other fees, probably not. So Ken, why don't we get right into it?
Sounds good. All right. So this week's news is actually going to be pretty NFT heavy, and this Web3 concept. And I think we'll certainly see a lot more of this as we go through today's episode and in our deep dive. So I want to start things off by looking at this interview that the information did with Devin Pincer, who's the CEO of OpenSea. Now, those that aren't familiar with OpenSea is a marketplace for NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And it's one of the world's largest, if not the largest, that's on the internet now. A lot of people are buying and trading. It's did 3.4 billion in transactions last month, and so basically the gist of the headline here of this article is OpenSea CEO says era of quote pure collectible NFTs end quote is over. So I think this shouldn't shock anybody, because instead of the NFTs being all about collectibles, like, oh, you can collect this, this crypto corgi, you can collect this, this Gary V original drawing, you can collect a Banksy, whatever. Now this is actually going to be what Mr. Finzer is thinking is that NFTs will be actually useful for creators with some real world applications. So here's an interest. I just want to call this interesting quote here at the bottom here. It says, "The days of just pure collectible NFTs without some sort of interesting layer on top of that are certainly over." And he's talking about with these future projects, there has to be something else associated with. There has to be some reason to be excited about it. So what he's talking about is that what creators are trying to do is not only just say, oh, you have something nice to sell to people, like this nice little design, but you're going to be able to apply some sort of a subscription or some membership benefit to it on top of that. So Greg, you might want to put some sort of a graphic out there, or like this, you might want to put some sort of any NFT, but then you can apply your rally coin to it. You can apply, your some consultation benefits or whatever on top of that, owning that said NFT. So I think this is a great scalable option, a thought for what NFTs can be in the future.
Yeah, I do. I agree, Ken. I think there's certainly a domain to which art and collectible art and one of a kind art sort of absolutely makes sense, to the extent that there's scarcity. But I do believe that the more intriguing use cases here obviously form around sort of like the community and sort of the other kinds of unlocks that we see potential with, like in having those NFTs, right? And so some of these NFTs I think will increasingly be given out, for participating in events or for making other kinds of purchases. Maybe this is like the receipt to some degree, right? And then I believe that, having those receipts basically is very likely to unlock access to more premium engagements, more intimate engagements, and things like that. So I think the reason that this is important, or that it's important that's coming from OpenSea in particular, is that something like 95%, I believe, of like sort of NFT traffic or trading actually happens in the OpenSea platform. So for someone in this space, or someone so prominent in this space, to be sort of making this claim, I think is just important for context of where we really are going.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. There we go. All right. So LinkedIn. I mean, we're talking about these creator funds with Snap, with YouTube, with Instagram/Facebook, and Substack. I mean, it's easy to understand that those are where creators are. Traditional, but I guess by definition, what creators are, that's where they'll typically reside. So LinkedIn is not necessarily the place you would automatically assume, like, oh, that's where I'm going to find the up and coming a creator that'll be a big hit at, like, conferences such as VidCon or anything like that, right? So I think when that's a misnomer. So what LinkedIn's doing is LinkedIn's launching a $25 million fund for their creators, and they're also they're also testing out new features for creators in the coming week, especially a Clubhouse rival, which has yet to be named. In addition, they're also rolling out some additional features for creators, such as live events, which we'll get to in a little bit. But here's where I want to kind of break down the $25 million fund. It's actually all under the guise right now of almost like an incubator program. So they're going to, anyone can apply, but they're going to support 100 US creators, and they're going to give them $15,000 to basically go build on the platform. And let me see if I can find what it is. Oh, they don't have it here. Anyways, oh yeah, here it is. So this is actually what they want to, how they're going to support them specifically hasn't really been flushed out. That hasn't been fully revealed, at least to the public. But I think certainly we should not discount the fact that a professional social network can't have creators on its platform. Obviously, they've had a little bit of rough patches here, like they've abandoned stories. They've rolled out live video, but that hasn't been widely available to the masses yet. I mean, that's basically it. And then you have this Clubhouse service that's supposed to be coming out hopefully soon. But I mean, does those two features does a creator platform make, right? I mean, you look at what you can have on Facebook, you can have on Instagram, and like there's so much potential in what a creator can do to scale. Could you necessarily do the same thing on LinkedIn? I mean, Greg, you are on we're broadcasting live on LinkedIn, on your LinkedIn profile now on video. Would you think that this is something worthwhile? Do you see that there's a potential for creators on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I've been a LinkedIn Live beta testers for I don't know how long. Maybe it's 2+ years now. Probably almost 3 years. I've live streamed for ages on LinkedIn. I think the mistake that LinkedIn, well, they've made many mistakes, but I think one of the main mistakes that they've made in these earlier attempts was thinking that the modalities of like consumerized things are sort of the same that like maybe an expertise driven economy or sort of professional economy would need, right? Mm-hmm. And I get I don't begrudge them in any way for trying like shorter formats and different formats to see if there's better uptake. What I hope this represents, however, like in sort of providing the funds, is an opportunity to discover what professionals would want to do as opposed to sort of just aping what's happening in other places and trying to make it happen, right? Yeah. And so I think if you gave someone $15,000, which is, obviously for a professional is likely not a tremendous amount of money, but what it does do, for example, because you're a professional, is it lets you deal with transcription, it lets you deal with closed captioning, it lets you deal with increasing some of the production value, it lets you deal with some of the packaging, and it maybe affords you some time and tooling to better promote and market your stuff. What you actually can learn is how to be more effective as a professional or expert creator. And I think this is where the market has the most room right now. Is there's an entire generation of experts, domain experts, consultants, et cetera, that are now entering the fray as quote unquote creators. And they likely are more comfortable in LinkedIn as the place to share and distribute that content. And so I think if LinkedIn can learn fast and move fast, they can take advantage of that and become a more formidable sort of player in this domain. Now, can they do that? I have no idea, right? Like historically, we haven't really seen the speed or level of innovation that I think is needed to be the winner yet.
Right. No, you're entirely right. And as you're talking, it reminded me of LinkedIn Learning, right? Because I think that's a big follow through that you can have, a big conversion that you can have, right? So I think there's a difference between creating on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram versus LinkedIn. Obviously, different type of audience, vastly different audiences. One is super professional, the business folks, those that are there for sales, marketing, advice, careers. They're not there for, the dance videos or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think if you're looking at people that are out of work, there's a lot of people that are doing remote learning and conferencing and everything like that, that they want to be able to still reach their people, like public speaking. Many of our friends are public speakers. Like they've found themselves basically out of work and during this pandemic. This actually gives them an opportunity to do that outside of saying, oh, let me go to like a sign up for my Zoom. Let me sign up for WebEx. They're going to be able to capitalize on the data, these speakers on the data that's available on LinkedIn. So therefore, they can do some sort of like what LinkedIn's sales navigator or anything like that. It's all upsell for LinkedIn because it's like, hey, these creators use the service. Therefore, they're gonna wind up investing more time into LinkedIn, and eventually they're gonna wind the end all be all. Hopefully, is for them to create a course on LinkedIn Learning, and the circle of life continues. So there's a lot more capability on there, a lot more professional networking and learning that you can do on there. But I want to final thing I want to bring up here is this. Is this additional features that they have here, where you're talking about with LinkedIn, they've announced several new features. Some things called articles for pages, which is allowing more long form content. And there we go. So you're going to allow more long form content. Apparently, if you're limited by an arbitrary number of characters in regular posts, which was actually news to me. But what's also fascinating, tied to what we're talking about earlier, is this new feature called LinkedIn Live Events, which I'm going to watch out. Basically saying you're being allowed to promote a live stream in advance to a target audience, notify registrants and select page followers that your event's going live, generate views on the event page from anyone on LinkedIn, whether they're attending or not, and you're going to be able to share the replay to further reach engagement and engagement. So this is they're not just saying like, hey, you're going to live, you'll be a creator, and that's it. They're giving you the ability to do basically what you could do on YouTube, but with a much more focused professional audience.
Yeah, I think that, these are parity features to sort of how the other tools are working. Facebook recently converted to using events now for their live streams as well. I think like if they can get some more cleanliness and ease of use around the actual live streaming process, it's going to be way better for them.
Yep. All right. Next one here, Twitter Superfollows. Now, we've talked about this many times. For those that are unfamiliar with Twitter Superfollows, it's their subscription offering where you can pay, where consumers can pay somebody to follow, to get premier tweets, I guess, if you call it. So the headline here is Twitter Superfollows has generated only around $6,000 in its first 2 weeks. It's still early. It's only available to people that can only create these subscriptions, are only on iOS. But anyone can subscribe to these said Superfollows. I don't know, $6,000 in just 2 weeks seems
garbage.
Seems garbage. I mean, but then again, it's like it's still early, right? And for in full disclosure, this is not from official numbers from Twitter. This is from Sensor Tower, which is an app intelligence data provider.
This is not surprising by any stretch of the imagination, however, right? Because there's a certain cultural part here that I think has been missing, and Twitter has been free and open for so long, right? That it's hard to switch people to this modality. And also because Twitter is such a fire hose of sound and noise, right? Like, I think the small size of a tweet compared to, say, like a post on a Substack, right? Or a video on a YouTube or whatever, just sort of kind of diminishes the perceived value of it. At the same time, also, though, it's important to remember the price point is very low also, right? I think it's, what is it, $4.99 max or something?
$9.99 max per month, but you could do like basically round it up, like 3, 5, and 10 ish.
Right. But either way, I don't know. Like, I think like, if they were minting a new generation of like another 100 million users on Twitter, that like this was normative, that you might pay for certain access to certain accounts or something like that, I could see it maybe. Right.
Yeah.
But that's just not what I see. Right. I just don't hear that. So I don't know. I find it hard to believe that there are that many people interested in buying paid tweet streams.
Yeah. And that's also very curious because the Superfollows is only to what they call a handful of creators. Now, I can see why creators would use Twitter. I mean, but in a normal time,
Yeah.
but to publish specific tweets there, like that you would pay to follow, as opposed to them going onto Instagram, following them on stories, or following them on, going to YouTube or TikTok or something like that, where they could be a little bit more creative. I see there's a little bit more advantage to that. I think like Twitter still needs to flesh out this use case. If they open this up to more brands, perhaps maybe that might be the thing. Like, for example, like Funko, or
like brands are very unlikely to charge though, right? So,
depends on how, if you could tie it into to an existing customers, like a membership type of thing, perhaps.
Yeah, I doubt it. Like most loyalty programs are free, right? So yeah, I just don't see that happening. My guess is that this is going to get retired, right? Before anything else in this stack. It's not that they're not like, hey, it's interesting to try, I guess, but unless they provide more. And by the way, so Twitter has more tools that they could sort of club together here to try to potentially create more value for that Superfollow stream, right? Like it could include access to, say, paid spaces. It could include like be commingled with your review subscription. So there's other things. I think one of the problems that Twitter is creating for themselves right now, though, unfortunately, is that they have so many different kinds of pathways to revenue but there is not sort of a buy one, get all kind of opportunity. And so maybe that'll change over time. As like, because these products are all kind of like alpha beta tested, like very limited release, et cetera. But maybe we'll see some traction here as they converge more of these individual experiments into sort of something more common.
Yep. Moving on to Discord. Nice little fun fact here. Discord, the chat app, which many of us are using. Greg, you're an active user of the Means of Creation Discord group server. Actually, Discord just raised $500 million in new funding, and it's now worth $15 billion. Not much to say about it. I mean, it's not really surprising. I mean, considering they opted not to sell to Microsoft last year, and now they're inching closer to a potential IPO. When that is actually going to happen, I don't know. But Greg, what do you like? Discord, $15 billion valuation. You surprised?
What
was that? What was that? Was that like a sigh of like, oh my God? Like,
how much did Slack sell for, Ken? Do you remember?
$2 billion and change, I think.
$2 billion, right?
That was for where work happens.
Yeah. Am I surprised? I guess not necessarily. Am I confused? Yes, because I didn't use Discord at all basically until like I started looking and pursuing NFTs more stringently. Now I'm in like 30 servers, and it's like I find Discord to be a very haphazard place. Like there's very interesting tooling inside of it, but it is very, very hard to sort of to track and manage and be active in. But there's clearly a lot going on there. I think they have a lot of really interesting power. I do think like if you think about conversation and chat as sort of like a pillar of sort of community, and as we continue to see community becoming more like the central economic thesis for like, a significant portion of like business moving forward, I think like obviously the backbone, the chat platform, the infrastructure for that is important, is valuable to the ecosystem as a whole. 15 billion is amazing. I mean, can I see them going public? Sure. I mean, gaming companies are public, right? And but the thing I don't get is, does Discord make any money? Right? like Nitro is useless. Like, I don't think anyone buys Nitro, or barely anyone buys Nitro. Like, so I just don't get, I'm not sure I quite get the revenue model, right?
Yeah. But apparently they're investing in the user bases. Like they have 150 million monthly active users who use like from voice, video, text, all these other things. And Discord says they're going to use the money, the 500 million, to build new quote features and tools. Whatever that means, I don't know. They might as well go on a M&A spree and start acquiring people.
I mean, but sure, I guess if you could get $1, out of half of those people, you have like what, $75 million a month in revenue.
Yeah.
but how do you get the dollar? Right? Like, I don't know.
Maybe they should acquire Bart's company, Centipenny, and then there you go. Like
This
just then
feels
to
like,
roll it all in.
doesn't this feel like old school, like Silicon Valley kind of thinking, right? Like
Yeah.
just get really, really big and you'll figure out how to make money later. Like at least all the other unicorns like really make money, right?
Yeah.
Like for the most part, like this is like Magic Leap, like territory, like where there's like
Ooh.
massive valuations, but not that they don't have the product and the actual deployment, but it's just like where is the revenue now?
Yeah.
Can I imagine a dozen ways for Discord to make money? Absolutely, right? So I'm hoping that that's like part of this plan that's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at you're totally right. It's like this massive valuations, right? And but with maybe nothing under this. Maybe is it vaporware? I don't know. Obviously, this is not vaporware because Discord has been out there for a while. They have something to prove. The fact that Microsoft was interested in buying them for, I think it was like $4 billion, right? I mean, that's a I'm sorry,
them,
12
right?
billion, 12 billion. I was off by a third. Well, wait, two
Wait,
thirds, whatever. I don't
Microsoft
know.
offered 12.
12 was in talks for the company was in talks with Microsoft, which bid $12 billion for the startup, according to Bloomberg sources. So
Amazing.
$12 billion for, and now its valuation is 15. Like that's, I mean, it's see, I guess the fact that the Microsoft's willing to pay 12, that's a good benchmark for them to kind of price out their valuation, right? I mean, but sooner or later we will certainly find out the what's under the hood for Discord if they choose to go public, short of going a direct listing. From my limited financial knowledge, they're gonna have to reveal that.
No revenue, like I mean,
although they have revenue. I mean, it's like they must have revenue through like I don't know. I'm not well versed in Discord, but I'm sure they have some. Do they do ads?
I don't think they do ads.
Do they have like a premium, like some sort of a
the only
subscription?
thing they have with premium is Nitro. Yeah, I don't know. So here's the thing. I had heard, that obviously that Discord was sort of trying to compete with Slack.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think so, kind of like maybe more of a Mighty Networks competitor, right? Like, but in the more always on sort of mentality. I don't know. It's hard to imagine here.
Who knows? Maybe they could wind up rolling out something in the next few months that's going to totally blow us away. Like, hey, here's where we're actually going to reap the actual revenue. So investors, you're going to get this is where your investors can feel really sure.
I'm sure they can find ways to make money, right? Yeah. So I'm just amazed that they're this far along and they haven't really found, like $1 billion a year in revenue kind of mentality.
Yeah. All right. We're back to OpenSea. So we already established what OpenSea is. They kind of got into a little bit of a snafu, Greg.
Yeah.
Not sure. I mean, I see this as a big deal. Like you're more into NFTs than I am, so I want to hear your thoughts on here. But basically, I want to. Was it Nate Chastain? Yeah, Nate Chastain. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. He was the head of product at OpenSea, and OpenSea admitted that he did some insider trading of sorts, the equivalent of insider trading, by buying and selling NFTs before they even went on display on OpenSea. So, I mean, there's obviously no regulatory protections in the world of crypto or NFTs. So, basically it's very limited. It's very limited in terms of what you can do. But Nate, Mr. Chastain, has since resigned voluntarily from the company. That happened yesterday. But OpenSea's part of now embroiled in some sort of a controversy. Like, Greg, what do you think? How big of a deal is this?
So I think obviously there's a lot of unethical behavior sort of in the crypto domain. There's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of people trying to rob and steal from other people. This seems like an uncovered loophole that maybe OpenSea just didn't feel initially they needed to address, but I guess they've now formalized it into sort of a more standing, terms of service rule, sort of like employee guidance now, right? I think what this ultimately, you know, I think this is where we're going with our deep dive in a bit also. It just points out though that for all the talk about decentralized anything, the reality is that all of this stuff is being crammed through like a very small number of places. Like I was saying, like 95% of NFTs are being sold on OpenSea, right? Like how much of the crypto based writing is happening on Mirror, right? How much of the crypto based buying is happening on Coinbase, right? You know, it may be decentralized, but the decentralization is still giving way to centralization. And I think like that because of some of the decentralization, these kinds of behaviors were able to one occur, but also be caught, right? Because it was in the open. A couple of smart folks were, checking the ledgers and sort of noticed that, hey, like right before these things are going live, someone's buying and dumping them into this account. Turns out that was an employee who had a little bit of a preview about what was going to get featured. If this was a regulated space, this would be in the domain of like insider trading to some degree, potentially, right? Mm-hmm. There are rumors that he had basically walked away with anywhere from 15 to 60 Ethereum. But as our friend Francine sort of pointed out, that's nothing compared to the damage he did to the actual space, right? Because all like, OpenSea like and NFTs kind of shit the bed after this, right? Like, September was already kind of like a bad month. There's a lot of people like, here and there talking about like, have we hit the top, which is kind of a stupid idea, but fine, right? Like there's people having this discussion, like, and at the same time, then you have like these other shady players, even within some of the most important and heralded spaces. So I think it's a good lesson to all that, all of this stuff is new. It's highly speculative, is prime for scams. By the way, this wasn't true on Clubhouse, right? There was a bunch of shitheads on Clubhouse that were also out there, scamming people, charging the pitch, doing all kinds of random things, right? So bad behavior follows humans, right? Like, because there are bad humans who have bad intentions. There are greedy humans who have greedy intentions. I think ultimately crypto is still a massively interesting space. I think it is also, in a lot of ways, misrepresented or overhyped in other dimensions. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit. But yeah, will they recover from this, for example? Yes, I'm sure, right? Mm-hmm. Will the space of NFTs recover from it? Absolutely, right? Like when doesn't bad crap happen, you don't stop doing things or trying to innovate because like bad things happen.
Yeah. And a nice little fun aside, while this is all going down, OpenSea decides, hey, we're going to release a mobile app. So now you can buy and sell and view your NFTs on a mobile app. But plus there's going to be additional options to share on social media and follow other people as well. So, hey, while you're talking about the negative stuff about OpenSea, hey, we decided to launch something else. So that's out there for your viewing pleasure as well.
Sure, why not? May as well, right?
Let's just bury the news. I think they did it wrong. It's like you have good news.
Yeah, we do have Jeremiah asked to join.
All right.
So let me see if he's available to speak. He is my go-to NFT person. So are you there, Jeremiah?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. What's going on, everybody? Great show. Yes, I heard the mobile app. Yeah, I was watching the NFT drama. What is your question?
Ken, go ahead. Do you have a question for Jeremiah? Can you hear him okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear Jeremiah. All right. Hey, Jeremiah, how's it going? Wonderful to have you on the show. Wow, I feel like a radio DJ here. So Jeremiah, like,
he sounds great too, by the way.
Thank you. So Jeremiah, you've kind of been nose deep in the NFT, the crypto, the creator coin type of space. How significant do you see Nate Chastain, his whole insider trading, NFT trading controversy? How big is that compared to the grand scheme of things? And how does that impact the crypto landscape?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal within the NFT space. And obviously, Twitter likes to cancel people. And, that's just drama that people love. And the whole Clubhouse scene and NFT scene is all about drama. So that's great. I think the actual thing is Nate was just the first one to get caught.
For sure.
Yeah, and I am sure the SEC and FBI is already tracking the space, and they're probably in this room listening to you and me. And this is just adding to their portfolio as they prepare for whatever rulings that might come in the future. So it's already underway, and they're already looking at crypto. I mean, the fact that crypto was mentioned in the infrastructure bill by Joe Biden in Congress last month. And they pointed out that they know that 14% of Americans have crypto. Of course, a much smaller amount own NFT, means obviously, and they want to tax it or potentially could want to tax it. I don't think it passed in that way, but they're paying attention. They're here. They know it's going to happen. So it is the Wild West. And of course, the tech industry fails to self-regulate over and over and over again. So we cannot be mad when big government comes in and regulates, because that is the function of government. And I'm sorry, Bitcoin maxis and libertarians. What I said is history and the truth.
Yeah,
I'm Jeremiah.
No, Jeremiah, that's really great insights, and you're right. I think that people on in the crypto space, they are like clamoring like, oh, we want decentralized. We don't like this is. We can get government interference out of it by decentralizing and going into the blockchain. But then when these type of things happen, you know, and Jeremiah, you're right. Like Chastain is not the first person. May not be the only. Probably the only first major person that's been caught doing such things. But I mean, this certainly puts into some question. Maybe not like a whole DEFCON 4 type of situation, but it's like, oh wait, like. Some people might pause on OpenSea because of this, because it's like, are my NFTs secure?
Yeah.
And I think it was like maybe a week or earlier this month where OpenSea also had a bug that wiped out a bunch of NFTs as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so there's some and look, it's a bug, but when you talk about NFTs and Ethereum, like this is actual, like it's something more than like, oh, I just lost a JPEG. Like this is actual, there's some legitimate monetary value in there, right? And you can like, oh, I can lose my entire savings, you know, even though it's like a JPEG or a GIF or whatever, right? And so like this is what's more impacted at this point, Jeremiah? And I want to kind of go back to my earlier question. Is it OpenSea or is it the industry?
It's the industry. And the point that you made up earlier, I think the exact phrase you said is that everything's funneling through OpenSea, Ken, about 10 minutes ago, is absolutely right. And this is a point that I've been trying to make to the industry. And I know people get really angry when I say this. I'm sorry, but I give the truth. There is no DeFi. There is no freaking DeFi. Coinbase and OpenSea are centralized. And while I understand Bitcoin maxi libertarians want to decentralize everything, and I understand why they want to do that, normies, normal people, my mom, aunts, they're going to use whatever's easiest. Whatever's easiest is the clean, well-lit space on the internet. By the way, that's not MetaMask and Etherscan. And it's not Uniswap. It's OpenSea and Coinbase. Yep. It's easy. They figured out how to make it easy. And by the way, we've seen this pattern before. You both know this pattern. We used to have something called blogs in WordPress.
And we
it's
still
too hard
do.
To set up. Yeah, but how many people publish on WordPress?
Fair point.
And how many people publish on Facebook and Instagram every day? Which one's easier? Which one's easier to set up? Which one's easier to run? I use WordPress. I use them both. But the point is, normies are going to go to the clean, well-lit space, which causes centralization. My last point on this, all of these rebellious Web 3.0 founders, and I know many of them, I work with them, some of my clients, they're going in to smash down the castle walls of Web 2.0. Right? They want to smash Mark Zuckerberg's castle down. Well, yes, that can happen and maybe will, but those rebels themselves will become kings.
Well, Jeremiah, I want you to stick around, because what you just said is going to be part of our deep dive later on in a few minutes. And I hope you can stay on. It'd probably be like maybe another
10 minutes. I gotta go to another.
We can go there right now. Technically, we're right.
Yeah. Why don't we go dive into that?
I'm about to tweet a graphic out right now. I'll add it to the space.
No, I don't use Twitter.
Too bad. You're live on video. You could join on video if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can get into it. I'm trying to go to the studio in my backyard to set it up. That's why.
Yeah. Get in the trailer and then ping us, and then we'll hit you up on that. but yeah, I mean, this one thing I wanted to talk to Jeremiah about is like, Greg, you remember back when we were in San Francisco, we went to the Web 2 Expo, Web 2 Summit, those type of things, right? And it's all Web 2, Web 2, Web 2, right? And that was this age of social media and everything like that. I recall Tim O'Reilly or somebody in that sphere bringing up Web 3, and Web 3 was not decentralization at the time. You know, it's something a little bit more semantic. It's more like the semantic web.
It was very different.
Yeah.
Web 3 back then. Yes.
So has that been abandoned, do you think, versus something more like this, more decentralized, has been cannibalized for that?
Well, people are lumping the metaverse into Web3. Depends on who you talk to, which can be decentralized, but with Facebook being the leading player, probably not. So Web3 means anything. In fact, I'm going to plant some flowers in my backyard. I'm going to call that Web3, and who's going to argue?
As long as you're wearing smart glasses, that Jeremiah, I think that's
your Ray-Bans on.
But did we lose Jeremiah?
No, I'm here, but I just got into the Tiny Airstream Studios. I'm setting it up right now.
Okay. All right. So I will text you, Jeremiah, the URL.
I don't use text.
Oh my God, Jeremiah. Should I fax it to you?
I use fax.
That's okay.
I'll fax it to you.
You have to mint it, Ken, as an NFT.
All right. Well, while we're doing that, Greg, why don't we? So we kind of cut through a lot of the news here, but let's go into our deep dive here. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So it's actually highly related to what we were just discussing with Jeremiah. Ultimately, I think this week what we decided or thought about thinking about was it struck me as somewhat odd, and I'm putting this into the nest if you're listening on Clubhouse now as well. But it struck me as odd that for all the complaints we have about the existing sort of social platforms, the large sort of platforms that everyone feels is supposedly holding back creators, and there's some truth there, obviously, right? The real question to me was, why is a completely decentralized, conceptually, platform the ideal platform, right? Like, why is that the solution to the problem as opposed to just making better platforms, right? And, as you know, our community here around the creative economy is a good hybrid of creators as well as builders, people building the next generation. And so, as Ken and I were chatting about, I just threw together this little quick graphic here, but one of the reasons, and our friend Scott Monty were having a discussion in a chat earlier this week, and he said, "Look, I was like, I posed this question to this group, and he said because of convenience, like people just want the simplest thing, and convenience will always rank high. And what do the big, large social platforms really offer is the ability, a very quick and easy and convenient way to discover great content and to sort through the noise, right? Now, what that convenience often comes or sacrifices is control, right? Yes, absolutely. You could stand up your own website, you could serve your own videos, right? And you could build your own YouTube, but who will be there, right? Like that is one of the things that you don't get as a result, but you then have to recreate all of these bits and pieces. This is why we've had so much discussion about sort of what we call, I call the creator cost of ownership, which is that you can complain about what it costs to work on a platform, but do you understand what it costs to run your own, right? Because until you actually have a fair and open and honest conversation about the true costs associated with running the same thing, and by the way, creating the same level of traffic and discoverability, et cetera, right? I think like you don't really quite understand what you're getting or what you're paying for, right? And so, it struck me, if you look at this diagram, it's very simple. It's just that sort of this idea of Web3 platforms, which are completely, quote unquote, decentralized and put all the control into the hands of the people. Well, they also suck at discoverability. And like, why is OpenSea such a large platform? Because it made discovery easy of all of this nasty NFT business that's going on all over the world, right? Where you can't find stuff. And even then, there's still a discovery problem, right? Because you find out on OpenSea after an NFT's been minted, How do you find out about it otherwise? You still have to go to Twitter, and then there become more prominent voices who become better sources of new information or new projects, right? Things consistently centralize to get there. Now, my posit, right, or proposition, and ultimately what I believe is true and why I'm building a creator platform myself, is that creator platforms have the benefit of both, right? They operate in a fiat-based world, right? Which most creators, let's be clear, still need money. They don't need crypto, and they don't really need full control. They need good, sturdy, reliable sources of income. And getting that, generating that, deriving that purely from a crypto-based universe, number one, cuts your customer base down to an absolutely infinitesimally small number of people, but more importantly, excludes a significant portion of your community as well by default, right? And because of gas and all of the other nonsense associated with working in crypto often, you can't turn it into dollars, right? Like, you think the 30% that YouTube wants to take for the ads on your video is bad? Well, guess what? It's 30 to 50%, depending on the time of day, in gas to take your money out of crypto, right? So you do not live and eat off of, like, your social token or any of these other things. This is why creator platforms, I believe, are in the middle, because they can bridge the gap and leverage and empower and enable crypto tokens as well, but they also can deal and trade in fiat, right? Which is what gives creators the power to actually build sustainable businesses, to establish a creator middle class, and all these other things. Crypto will not establish a creator middle class. There's absolutely no way that crypto by itself does that, right? Because you have to have real dollars in the middle class to pay real rent and real mortgages, right? Now, at the same time, the other thing that goes on is that creator platforms can be better at both leveraging social platforms for discoverability as well as creating new opportunities for discoverability, right? And that's why I sort of broke out like networks versus platforms versus services, because I believe that is sort of the gradient that we operate in, right? Like we sort of like, there are social new creator platforms that just have better terms, better services than the social platforms did, right? Like there's things like Haps, for example, which is sort of a live streaming platform, which you could think of like a Twitch or something like that, but it's for normies, as Jeremiah would call them, right? There are platforms like, say, Zealous, right, which offer the tooling, but we operate independently per creator. We do not actually, we don't aggregate anything per se, right? And then there are just pure dead-on services, which are just like, hey, I give you tools and I give you these things. You go do with them whatever you want. Those things, I think this ecosystem of creator platforms is not getting enough visibility or attention because what is being overshadowed by these Web3 concepts, which really are just too far afoot to be valuable in the short term for the people who are actually just trying to get escape velocity to go full time. So that's my rant.
So, Greg, I think there's a little bit more complexity involved in here, right? I don't think that you're wrong. I think that, certainly there needs to be some sort of a middle ground between, the traditional, I guess the traditional social, what we're calling now, the current incumbent social versus the decentralized platforms. Because I think when you think about because as a reporter and having kind of observed what people are saying on the internet practically every waking hour, you kind of see can crypto solve this? Can the blockchain solve our voting issues? Can blockchain solve our financial problems and homeless and blah blah blah, like that? That kind of becomes a common refrain. I don't begrudge people for saying that, because there are some legitimate applications for these type of things. But I think a lot of these companies, a lot of these founders that are building may be thinking hey, let me go think the 5 to 10, 15, 20 years from now, this is actually going to be the next big thing, truly the next big thing, the next moonshot of sorts, but not really calling it a moonshot, right? Versus let me go, they're thinking about maybe more intermittent innovation, right? This okay, let's move on to what's happening in the next, in 5 years, and then find ways to bring people along. But a lot of VCs are betting big on the blockchain moonshots, right? Those that are like, oh, let's decentralize everything, let's make it all crypto, NFTs are the way of the world, blah blah blah. And you're right that it feels very like the NFTs and cryptos are very are leaving people behind. I feel left behind. Like, and I'll give my own personal case. Like, so I went and so I have AMA rally coins. You've gifted to me. I'm like, oh, okay. I still don't know what to do with it. I've tried to grok what the heck.
Do you want a shout out on the show? Because you can.
Oh, could you give me a shout out on our show, please? That would be really, really great. Because I don't think I get enough exposure here, right? So that's the only form of crypto I actually own. I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't want to like, but then I'm also worried about like, how do I pay my taxes? Like, do I have to count for these or whatever? And then what happens is that Jeremiah pointed out like, hey, you should get your Ethereum name. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I went and got Ken Yeung.eth. So, hey, if you want to send me ETH, great, I guess. But then when I started to do that like weeks ago, I'm like, then I got the whole thing found out what the actual costs were. And it's almost like back when you were signing up for a phone bill, for a phone service, and then you got all these hidden fees and everything like that. People that aren't familiar with this, they're like, oh, gas. I'm like, okay, wait, gas fees are super high. Like, it's a $5 ENS is now winds up being, hundreds of dollars more because of the gas fee, and it's it fluctuates by the day, by the time, by the hour. And then you get into, once you actually get to a point where you think, oh, it's affordable, then you have to pay like a mining fee because of it's off of Ethereum. And then you go buy things, any type of transaction you want to make on your name server. Like, oh, I want to update, I include my website, include my Twitter handle. You got to pay mining fees. So it's constantly you're paying. And you realize like that $5 you thought you could pay for a domain winds up being thousands of dollars. And I'm like, I can't afford this. Like, what's the point? Right. And it's like, just to have like, what can I do with this?
But if you didn't do it, we saw that people were squatting names. Somebody squatted Ben Parr's name. If they squatted Ben Parr's name, they know you're friends. It's just a matter of time before somebody squats Ken Yeung's name. Then what do you do?
No, and besides the squatting part, right? I mean, it's like let's take that out of the equation. And you're completely right, Jeremiah. And hey, you're on the show right now. Sorry, there you go. Hello, Jeremiah. Nice to see you. In your nice little trailer. Like, I think Jeremiah's setup looks way better than ours. I mean,
well, his has wheels.
This is also true.
Wheels.
Yeah.
But Jeremiah, I'm making up for how beautiful you two gentlemen look.
Oh, thanks. Flattery will get you everywhere here on this show, Jeremiah. But Jeremiah, but taking away that the squatting aspect is like, I still feel like just the financial part of crypto, it feels like people are still being very much left out, because it's like those that can afford an ENS. An Ethereum domain name,
right?
Those that can buy an NFT. Like, I don't feel like I can actually legitimately buy an NFT. Like, even one that's just like, oh, let me just put something. Sure, like, I can put some without breaking the bank.
You can. Well, you got to get them when they're mint. You have to get them when they're minting, right? Like, I think one of you just mentioned like the superlative whatever group, like that's minting right now. So, you got to get it when they're cheap.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, are most people like are most people like avid hunters, like they're looking for like Funkos or the next newest baseball card or whatever, right? I mean, it's like they're looking for more tangible type of thing.
I think you're old enough to remember. You remember when domain names came out?
Yeah,
you only buy them from Network Solutions.
Yep.
And I forgot how much it was, but I think it was like $95 or more basically per year to buy a domain name, right? Mm-hmm. Which sounded, at the time, people didn't know what they needed them for. It seemed like a lot, right?
Yeah.
I guess my point though is less so like, yes, crypto is a complicated space. It tends to be sort of a person with disposable cash space as well for the most part, right? Or someone who's just been long on it and involved in Ether mining and whatnot, and sort of accumulated a bunch of this stuff in the past, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
My concern.
When you say long on it, let's just call them early adopters. They had the
early
foresight.
adopters. Yeah. Like 10 years, like 5-10 years ago, maybe they were buying or mining, or sort of got some, like, actually the ETH I have, I got paid in a contract, like, years ago when it was like $1,000 and now it's 3,000. Right. And so, but my main point is really ultimately that, and Jeremiah and both are involved with like the Rally ecosystem and sort of have our own creator coins as well, right? Is that the promise of DeFi, quote unquote, Web3 has lots of potential for creators, I believe, but it is not a solution for the actual problems that we are seeing today in the creator economy, getting escape velocity to being a standalone ecosystem, right? Because getting out of the shadow of being under YouTube, the secret to that is not to splinter into 10 million pieces that are undiscoverable and everyone's on their own trying to figure out how to get there. They still need more of a step function to get to that place.
Yeah, I think if you start to break things up into different things, I think it makes it harder not only on the user, because you're right, Greg, in terms of the discoverability, but it's also on the creator, because they're like, where do I go? How, like, they don't want to juggle through $15 billion 15 hoops just to be able to post one thing, right? They want to be able to just like, okay, it's I don't want to take 5 hours. I just want to take like 30 minutes, just upload, be done, and reap the rewards or benefits and just reach my people. But
Ken, there's a good question here from Rick. He actually asks, like, can you give some examples of a few of these apps/platforms? Yeah, absolutely, Rick. Like you nailed, name many of them, right? Like Substack, I believe, is a platform, right, that is enabling a generation of creators to operate in a financial, still cash-based world, right, which allows them to build velocity, to escape out of sort of working on a mainstream platform. But what it doesn't do is rely only on the crypto universe. And to Ken's point, crypto is complicated, it's expensive, right? And it's in a large degree a rate limiter from an audience point of view, right? Not enough of the audience exists there. So like traditionally, that would not be a smart place to be fishing. Most creators that we see that are successful in leveraging sort of Web3 concepts are fairly large and well established in size, right? Because they have an audience that they can work into a place, right? But I can tell you, us as sort of crypto coin holders for our own creator economies, it takes a lot of work to activate. It actually even takes sacrifice. Like it takes us being willing to forego sometimes transactional dollars for the sake of trying to build this community and learn and to understand. That is just not a place that most creators, when only 2 to 5% of creators at all actually can survive off of the creative work that they do. DeFi is definitely not the solution to that problem for the majority of people, right? Because we are over indexing on the runaway hits, right? Not the actual mainstay of success.
Right. And I'll point out that Rick has a storied history with blogs, because he's the guy that behind Blog World, an amazing conference that back in the day that was in Las Vegas. So a lot of us went to. Amazing time. We learned a hell of a lot. So Rick, thank you so much for that.
What is Rick's last? Yeah, Calvert.
Yeah,
Rick.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear more from Rick about like what's he seeing in the space if he's still involved in it. But man, I do miss the Blog World. But Jeremiah, with the amount of limited time we have here, I wanted to get what Greg was talking about with creator coins, right? I mean, we're talking about the decentralized type of space. You're advising the team at Rally. You have your own creator coin.
Yes.
Greg has his own AMA coin. Right? There's all these creator coins. What are they used for? And are you seeing these, like, what are you seeing in terms of this decentralized issue amongst these creators? Are they seeing like a lot more value? Are you seeing like more value? Like, can you give us the lay of the land, like the state of the union of sorts, if you will, based on your observations?
Yeah, so I'm an advisor to Rally, and I know the founder for over 10 years, Kevin Chu. And Rally helps creators connect to their own fans, and they can create their own economies by injecting currencies, their own branded currency, or their own NFTs, their own branded whatever image or video or audio. And we see that creators use it for a number of different ways. So by the way, Felicia Day just launched 2 days ago. Megadeth launched last week. BT, the music artist, launched the first UCLA basketball player, the very first collegiate athlete ever to have a coin launched last week. And so the celebrities are starting to onboard on Rally. And the way it works is fans can earn the coin or purchase the coin, and then they can access perks. Perks could be a shout out on a Twitch show, or they can access a game in a Twitch game. We see those folks doing that, or they can purchase a shout out on this amazing show right here. Or I could tweet out, something positive to one of the things you're working on if I agree with the content. Or you could access a premium Discord server like Portugal the Man does, a music group, using a coin. The Rally coin is actually an API. So you can do many of those things that I just said in a programmatic way. So you can set up rules in the programming so it happens that way and it automatically happens that way. So it is software as well. It's not just a currency. And also you can benefit by the rewards. So one of the things that we're seeing, the moniker of Web 3.0 is that everybody can win and own. So if you own the AMA coin, which I do, if the AMA coin is growing this week, I don't know if it is, Greg, but it is. All right. So that means on Saturday night, I will receive what is called Rally Rewards. So because I'm a token holder of Greg's coin, then I will receive a small portion of the upside of that. It's shared, just like crowdfunding of yesteryear enabled people to win. So it's like crowdfunding. So I'm as a fan of AMA in this show, and I've contributed to this show, I also win on the financial upside by getting a small piece if it's growing. So those are all examples of this social token. Mm-hmm. And most of it is around utility, using it in order to gain access to things and to use that. So that is what is happening. Now, this is for everybody to use. The UI is easy to use on Rally.io. My mom is onboarding on Rally right now.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, like today. And I'm going to be a speaker at Mainnet next week. And I got to run actually after this.
Here.
Mainnet is the blockchain Bitcoin conference in New York of the year. And my opening remark is going to be, raise your hand if you own Bitcoin. 1,000 hands are going to go up. Then I'm going to say, how many of your moms are on Bitcoin, on crypto? And then I'm going to say, at Rally, all of the creators' moms can get on crypto a lot faster, right? It's easier to use. So it is a clean, well-lit space. But to your point, your last question is, Rally is decentralizing. It is ERC20, so it is listed on Coinbase. And eventually, AMA will be an ERC20 coin. Date TBD. So that means that AMA will be traded on Coinbase.
So everyone get your AMA coin now. There's a nice little coin drop that we got right now. So the link below here. But Jeremiah, thank you guys so much. It's been a great pleasure having you on here. We got to have you on here for a full hour later on. But
I would love to. Take care, gentlemen. Have a wonderful weekend. Great show. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you soon, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, Rick, and just to wrap up on your question, no, we love it, Rick. We'd love to have you on sometime too. So feel free to hit us up and come on down.
Absolutely.
I think the way that people are using these creator coins today, and the way that I think offers the most value, is as an accessory and as a endorsement and a currency amongst your community, but not necessarily. Right. But for some, maybe, but not necessarily as a replacement for your income. Right. So, if you're a creator and you've been making $300,000 a month from YouTube, you don't want to start making $300,000 a month in crypto. Right. Unless you also have like steady revenue in cash that still provides you the opportunity to build and grow. Right. Now, wanting to grow your community, wanting to enrich them, wanting to let them participate and get richer as you get richer, all of those things are awesome, true virtues that I think every community that is building standing should pursue. However, the big problem is we still have an escape velocity problem for the creator community at large, where most creators cannot actually complete the act of creation in a full-time basis only, right? Like they cannot literally have a sustainable life full-time. The way to get there is not through Web3. The way to get there in the short term is actually to start to own your data more, start to leverage that data to turn it into more meaningful and valuable opportunities, to aggregate as many revenue streams as possible to build a successful and sustainable life, and ultimately to leverage the social platforms in a manner that actually increases your value, not to sort of just shoot arrows at them, leverage them and use them to your best advantage. So I think we've got a lot, tons to say here. I appreciate everyone being here. We are over time. I know we have to go, Ken. But this has been a great conversation. I'm glad we had Jeremiah in for a short stint as well. So bye, everybody. We will see you again on Wednesday next week. We have Josh Constantine from Signal Fire. By all means, don't miss that. And then we'll see you again, of course, for Friday for Creative Briefs. So bye, everyone. We'll see you soon.
See ya.